Well, in that eco-friendly environment, industry, sustainability industry, and so on. For me, the biggest myth is that we don't need to incentivize people for doing eco-friendly gestures. It's because it should be automatic, it's good for the planet, and so on. When I look around, it's a failure. Because if the motto "I do it because it's good for the planet" was enough, we will have no littering, no pollution. It would be a green place and so on, and we won't have a problem of impact and sustainability and so on. So, just believing that we don't need to, for me, it's a myth. We need also to find ways.
Hey everyone, this is Devin Miller here with another episode of The Inventive Expert. I'm your host, Devin Miller, the serial entrepreneur that's grown several startups into 7- and 8-figure businesses, as well as the founder and CEO of Miller IP Law, where he helps startups and small businesses with their patents and trademarks. You ever need help with yours, just go to strategymeeting.com, grab some time with us to chat, and we're always here to help. Now, today we've got another great guest on the podcast, Eric Schaffner. And Eric, we're going to be talking about a few things, including how to go about engaging people, how you can leverage and use the blockchain within your business, also dealing a little bit with litter and pollution, and also being a Swiss knife as part of doing a startup. So it should be for some great points of conversation. And with that much as an introduction, welcome on the podcast, Eric.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me here. It was a pleasure.
Absolutely. Excited to have you on. So now before we dive into some of the topics at hand, for just as a quick reminder for the audience, so Eric was a guest on our sister podcast, The Inventive Journey. So if you haven't caught Eric's full episode, definitely go make sure to catch that or his journey there. But for those that haven't had a chance to catch that episode yet, give everybody just a quick 1 or 2 minute introduction to yourself.
Yeah, well, it's very simple. I come from the packaging industry. I worked many years in group that supply plastic bottles, amongst others, complete lines and so on. And then I moved to the entrepreneurship a couple of years ago to create Z-Loop, which is a reward platform to incentivize people for practicing eco-friendly gestures, and we have our own mobile application that incentivize people for returning used plastic bottles, because as you have noticed, we are unfortunately submerged by littering all over the place.
No, sounds like it's been a good journey, and that was a great introduction. So with that, now as we dive into a few of the topics at hand, one of the things that we talked a little bit about before in no particular order, but was, I think that you guys leverage and use the blockchain, as well as, going about and helping others understand how you do that. So walk us through a little bit, maybe as a really quick overview. So help us understand a little bit more, what is the blockchain, and then how businesses can go about leveraging it and using it.
Yeah, so well, if we want to go just in the overall this definition, blockchain is a decentralized ledger of transactions that can be used in many applications, whether it's for traceability purpose, whether it's for transactions. The most famous blockchain today is the Bitcoin. People associate that to a cryptocurrency, but it's a blockchain on its own. But it can be for finance. It can be just for tracing performance or data and so on that we want to record in an immutable way, very difficult to crack. It's scripted every time there's a transaction, and it's decentralized, which is the main why we have a main benefit, is that it's not like most of the things we do, like when you take your credit card, it goes to a centralized server and all the calculation, all the things are done super fast, but nobody has a control on that. unless just the owner of that central organization. On the blockchain, it's decentralized. There is a chain of people and systems that will validate things, and that is where there's a lot of attraction to that, because that freedom of doing things gives a lot of possibilities.
No, it sounds like it, introduces a lot of options and opportunities. Now, maybe walk us through, just as an example, how have you guys leveraged your integrated blockchain within your business, or kind of what's one of the ways that you can use that? Because I think everybody, to your point, is kind of, the main time that they hear it is when you hear come up with cryptocurrency or, Bitcoin or something of that nature. But how have you guys utilized it or leveraged it as well?
Yeah. So in the categories, you have a different type of token. So we are using a utility token. So a coin that it has a value because it's in this ecosystem and it represents a utility use. People sometimes are a bit skeptical about blockchain because there is also misuse because it's not controlled. So you have also people that put upfront the purpose as the blockchain instead of using that as a tool. So in our case, we have developed a reward engine that has the capability to automatically create a blockchain account for an individual, and after to manage automatically all the transaction. With that reward engine that serves as a platform, and for instance, in our mobile application where we reward people for bringing used plastic bottles or for doing clean walks and collecting trash, and then they earn our token on steps. The reward engine acts as a backup system. So when we validate something in the back end of the app, it automatically triggers, once it's validated, the transaction in the reward engine. The benefit is that we have that kind of all the benefit of the blockchain, which is traceability, transparency also, because you can check the ledger on the different, we are on Binance Smart Chain. You can check all the transactions, so you can't fake, and say, hey, we have so millions of bottles collected and so on. And we bring that, allow us to bring the value to the stakeholders, or everybody who performs a gesture has access to that value. But we made it very simple when you enter in the app, and that is really the difference with many solutions. For those who have practiced a bit the use of utility token, cryptocurrencies, and so on, you have to register an account, you have to get a KYC, you have to get a wallet, you have to understand quite a fair things, and you are quite alone also to create all that. When you download, for instance, our app or other apps that we have developed for other businesses, the user just registers as a normal process for when you register to an app or to an app. You put your name, your Google ID, Facebook ID, or whatsoever, and then you have your account created in the app. At the same time, automatically, we have created the blockchain wallet.
Now, it sounds like, Bar, to maybe summarize that or distill down to at least to my level, a lot of times if you're looking to provide transparency and a bit more accountability to your business, blockchain can be a great avenue to do that, because people can more easily understand where or what's occurring, how many transactions are going on, how many users there are, or otherwise give that transparency that oftentimes isn't there with a lot of other systems that are in place.
Absolutely.
Now, shifting gears just a little bit, because one of the other things that you guys are certainly passionate about and deal with on a regular basis is the idea of litter and pollution, and how you go about maybe reducing that or addressing that issue. And so walk us through a little bit on any thoughts on if people and businesses, how they might go about contributing to the reduction of litter and pollution.
Yeah, so we when we looked around us, we see a lot of trash, plastic bottles, but not only. You have cans, you have paper, and so on. We were reflecting on that and say, why is it like that? So, And I always ask the question, will you litter with gold? And what is the difference with that? You don't litter with gold. We do litter with other things. And the reason is simple. It has no value. If it had value, you would not litter. And that is why we thought, hey, we have to create something that will give value to the waste. So people start to realize that it's a resource and not a waste. And so we use the blockchain and the element to create that value. And how we approach to that is on the application. First, we try to do our best to improve our app all the time, but it's very simple. Anywhere in the world, you download the app, you map bins, existing network of bins, point of collection where you can drop plastic bottles and so on. Take a picture of the bin, upload in the system, we validate. Once it's validated within 24 hours, every time you go to that bin with bottles, you just take a picture of the bottles 1 to 10 or in bulk. Then we process that in the system. We check the quantities, validate what you have declared, and then in return, you have automatically Eco Rewards, the token in your wallet. When you are in place, or even if you are not in the place, wherever you are, there you don't need an infrastructure. You see trash on the litter or in nature and so on. You go for a walk. You register for a duration, 15 minutes, half an hour, 1 hour walk. Collect trash at the end of the session. Take picture of your trash. We validate that yes, you do have collected trash, and then you are rewarded for all the steps you have done during the walk, and you earn Eco Rewards. So this way is very simple to use, and it's very versatile, it's universal. You can do that anywhere you go. And then with these Eco Rewards, you can then after redeem, you have a marketplace where you have discount vouchers, or for the more tech savvy, they can send their Eco Rewards to their private wallet, and then they can trade it against US dollar digital. So very simple. And this is how we create value, simple as that. And as an illustration, some of our partners in the marketplace, they give these discount vouchers that if you translate the benefit, it's like if they were giving you a purchasing power of 50 cents per bottle, which is a world record. So it's like a consignment, but it's decentralized and it's just private. It's not, you put the money in and then get it back if you bring in the container at the collection station.
No, I think that's a great way. And I like the, kind of the takeaway, to your point, people wouldn't be throwing away gold because it adds value to them, or they wouldn't be littering or causing the pollution. And yet when you have something that has minimal or no value, that creates that issue. And so, tackling that problem with the ability to, create that value or make it worthwhile for individuals is a much better approach than, just kind of lecturing people or otherwise telling people what they should or shouldn't do, but incentivizing them to do that. Now, as you guys have started to go about doing that, and I think, at a broader level, one of the things that we talked a little bit about beforehand was, as you're doing a startup, as you're doing a small business, you have to be a Swiss Army knife. So in other words, you have to be able to do a lot of different things. And even if you're not an expert or perfect in it, any given thing, just by the nature of not having, unlimited funds and a huge team and all the people you want to hire all at once, you have to be able to have that flexibility. So kind of walk through a little bit, how do you go about as you were getting started, but even and thoughts on guidance on other startups as to how you go about being that Swiss Army knife for the business?
Well, I think it's a must. You have to be. I think we say it's a survival Swiss knife. If you don't, anyway, well, unless you are blessed and you raised on the idea. Some startup managed to raise quite a large amount of money just based on the idea, and then can burn fast and don't need maybe to go to that Swiss knife too fast, but the success ratio is also a bit probably lower also. So if you want to retain a bit the ownership and not dilute too much for the investors and so on, and not to burn too much and so on, then yeah, the Swiss knife is necessary. And for the product, it also becomes a necessity. Like our app is to demonstrate the capability on the littering side, but we provide a reward engine as a platform for other businesses that have an eco-friendly solutions and that would like to jump on that Web3 solution plus the capability of incentivizing individuals. There, they can be directly plugged on it to get all those benefits and enjoy the common element. The same utility token, so their user will enjoy the same the benefits in their solution plus the benefit they have in the loop on any other application that use the same reward engine.
No, it makes sense. And so now walk us through, because I assume based on how you talk in our previous conversation that as you got started, you had to be that Swiss Army knife. So how did you, there's a difference between, hey, you have to do it versus you figuring it out. In other words, just because you have to do it, you still have to go through the exercise of getting an understanding. How do I do marketing or sales, or how do I build a product, or how do I do engineering, or how do I do the software side, or how do I do the payroll, or how do I do the taxes, and all of those things that are demand. And so how did you go about, figuring those things out, or, kind of what was the process to at least get a base level of skill within those areas that allowed you to be that Swiss Army knife for the business?
I think it's like a coach that builds a team and that will analyze his team and say, okay, this one is good at attacking, the other guy is good at defending, and so on, and you place your players in the team accordingly, and you try. Here you map your competence and say, okay, I'm strong here, I'm not strong at that, I'm very bad at that, or I don't like to do that, because there's also things, we also tend usually to do more things on things we like and less and push aside the things we don't like, which it's not sustainable. Eventually, everything has to be done. So if you feel appetite on one thing, you have to just map it and say, okay, for that I need someone. So after is whether you can't become the expert, even if you're the Swiss knife. You start to have different blades on the things, but some of the blades you can borrow from someone else. So it can be freelancer, can be third party, can be advisors, and so on. But build the team so you feel the holes on the organization in a flexible ways, because the workload doesn't justify always to have a full-time presence on a specific topic. Our accounting, for instance, is outsourced. We don't have too many lines of transactions, so it's quite easy to get that. And then sometimes we have some missions where we will get a resource for that. But then the Swiss knife capability is more to be able at least to discuss and to specify what we want to those who will fill the gap.
No, makes perfect sense. Now, to follow that up, because I think especially within the area of or solving the litter pollution and those type of things, one of the things you have to be able to do is engage people and help them understand, hey, we're not just out here to lecture you about you should be a good actor. Not that people shouldn't be good actors, but we've got a unique or innovative way that we're going out about addressing this. And oftentimes people have been hounded for so long that they kind of turn off or they don't listen. So how do you go about kind of engaging people on a topic when you're trying to teach them, hey, we have a different approach, different way of doing this, and that will actually work to solve the problem? Kind of thoughts on how you as a generally go about as a business engaging people?
That is a constant challenge, I would say, especially when you have an app as a support, retention. We put that a bit aside of the table because you have a growth where you say, okay, acquisition brings more people than we lose some, but acquisition has a cost, so it's good to make sure that we retain. So listening to the community, to the user, getting their feedback, growing that community. We are playing on different social media to be visible enough, and we do some marketing now using a chatbot, which allows also to have some feedback, collect a bit faster some feedback. And after we have to sort, because the feedback, first the first level is fix the bug, at least so that people enjoy, is smooth and engaging and so on. We also try to play with different leverage on the app. We spoke about the reward, systematic reward, but there's also challenges where we can push on the some people like to compete, so there is something for them. We have a dashboard where they can share their impact and compare that to equivalents in producing eggs, fun stuff. We found some fun translation that illustrate a bit what you reduce as an impact in recycling versus what will take as an impact to produce meat or eggs and light bulbs and so on. They can share their performance to friends and so on. So there's also that social recognitions. That is, so we try to play, because marketing gurus will tell you you have to segment you have to have a persona for your users, and you have to segment and so on. But you can direct a bit your communication channel and so on, but social media is so wide and so on. You have a nest, and you don't really know all the fish that you catch, and of course you will have diversity. So some people are more attracted to, hey, I do it because it's good for the planet. Some people say, I do it because I want to earn, I want to play, I find it fun and so on. So we try to cater the different profiles.
No, makes perfect sense. Now, how often, so as you're engaging people and you walk through kind of a lot of different ways, kind of on what frequency or how often do you to work to engage people? Is it on a daily basis, monthly basis, yearly basis? You're trying to keep people, as you're trying to solve this problem and keep people engaged so they continue to use your product. How do you kind of go about, or engaging them and on what level or what frequency?
Well, I would say well, we do have spontaneous feedback from users because they have a problem or they want to understand something and so on. So that gives us an opportunity touch point. We do also bi-weekly mailing where sometimes we ask questions and surveys, and we did also some surveys. We have. So in a frequency, I would say if we an average of twice a month. After because we still have a light, I think it could be good to do even more, and get focus groups and get. After, it's also a matter of resources. We are still a small team, so it can take time to collect those feedbacks and so on, to observe and translate in development. There's no point to collect information, you measure, but if you don't do anything about it, there's no point. We also know that we will be a bit limited. We have a roadmap on development. Some of the development are even not user facing currently. We are working more on the platform side, which is, I would say, completely transparent for a user. His experience will not change at all. There's more our capability to host more solutions on the platform. That takes at the moment the bandwidth of our tech team. Even if we come with new ideas and new things to improve the app or bring some new experiences, we won't be able to deliver. So there's no point also to over collect, because I will just extend my roadmap by 3 more years, but I won't deliver. So it's also a balance of, we know we could do always better and do more, but we also have to refrain. And sometimes, unfortunately for the guidance of the idea of the movement and so on. You have also to be back to basis. Is do I do that? Is there return on investment because it's a company and we are not philanthropic. We don't have the finance base to just say, okay, we just do that for the exclusive benefit of the user experience and so on. We have also sometimes to say, well, I do that because it can generate an additional business or some revenues, and that becomes a priority.
Awesome. Well, makes perfect sense and a lot of great pieces of advice and great guidance. So, well, now is our time is already flown by, and we're already reaching towards the end of the podcast. I always like to end off with the same question, so we're going to jump to that now. So, the question I'd like to ask for the inventive expert is: within your industry, what is the biggest myth, and why is it wrong?
Well, in that eco-friendly environment industry, sustainability industry, and so on. For me, the biggest myth is that we don't need to incentivize people for doing eco-friendly gestures. It's because it should be automatic, it's good for the planet, and so on. When I look around, it's a failure. Because if the motto "I do it because it's good for the planet" was enough, we will have no littering, no pollution. It would be a green place and so on, and we won't have a problem of impact and sustainability and so on. So, just believing that we don't need to, for me, it's a myth. We need also to find ways, and when you look at the way we've been educated. From childhood, from babyhood, if you say that in English, you say, you do something good, you have a smile as a reward, you have a gift and so on. You do something wrong, you have a punishment, or the person, your parents are angry and so on. So there's one thing. And then when you come to eco-friendliness, is, well, you don't define, we find it's easy to find, and you have a lot of system where you say, if you don't place that, you will have a fine or you will pay more and so on. But if you do something well, it's normal, it's granted. Why suddenly on that segment, that dichotomy between good and wrong, and reward and punishment, the stick and the carrot has disappeared on that section. And for me, it's really something that we should crack. There's not only one way. I believe that yes, in some putting fines in some and boundaries is important, but also acknowledge when people do good is also something very powerful.
No, I think that's definitely a great myth to dispel and a great takeaway. And I mean, I think that way hit on is, at the heart, not in the by any means a bad way, but people, at their heart are self-centered. In other words, it's what is it in it for me? Why should I care about this? And if it's a cause that you care about, then you're going to do it naturally. If it's not a cause that you care about, but there's an incentive that is beneficial to you, you'll still do it. And so I think taking the approach of hey, this isn't going to be a cause that's at the core of everybody's heart, but we still want everybody to be incentivized to do it, is a great way to go about approaching it, and that it dispels that myth that all you have to do is tell people that it's a cause that they should care about. So I think that's definitely a great piece of advice and a great takeaway. Well, now as we do wrap up the episode, if people want to reach out to you, they want to be a customer, they want to be a client, they want to be an employee, they want to be an investor, they want to be your next best friend, any or all of the above, what's the best way to reach out to you, contact you, find out more?
Well, that's what you see on my name, www.erics360.com. You will have then access to different contents about our app or platform, how to contact me, to book an appointment directly, and so on. Very easy and smooth.
Awesome. Well, I definitely encourage people to reach out, make a new connection, support a great business. If nothing else, make a new best friend. So with that, thank you again, Eric, for coming on the podcast.
Thanks a lot, Erin.
It's been a pleasure. Yeah. Now, for all of you that are listening out there, you have your own you have your own journey to share and you'd like to be a guest on the podcast, we'd love to have you. So just reach out to us and go to inventiveguest.com. Couple more things as listeners, make sure to click share, subscribe, and leave us a review. Really helps us to reach even more startups and small businesses to help them along their journey to success and to share this expertise with them. And on that note, if along your journey you ever need help with patents or trademarks or anything else with your startup, your small business, just go to strategymeeting.com, grab some time with us to chat, and we're always here to help. Well, thank you again, Eric, for coming on the podcast, and wish the next leg of your journey even better than the last.
Absolutely. Thank you. I'm looking forward to see you again. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining our podcast.